You're listening to
So
a
the big
Raspberry
watch hand,
podcast.
the one that looks like an arrow pointing at time, that's time's arrow. And it's pointing at 7 p.m. Pacific time, making it 10 p.m. Eastern time. And that means it must be time for Mission Log Live. I'm Norman Lau.
I'm Holly Amos, and tonight we are back to discuss Star Trek Picard, Season 2, Episode 4, Watcher. And after seeing the activity on social media about this episode, we know you have things to say. So you know what to do. Just click on the Zoom link or give us a ring by using the one tap from your smartphone, or call us at 669-900-6833 and enter the meeting code and the password. You'll be in the Earl Green room.
Yeah, so while you're waiting to get in, while you're waiting for Earl to queue you up, so kick back and pour yourself your local favorite beverage of choice. Mine will be Saurian brandy in a coffee cup that looks just like this.
Mine is conveniently local too. It's Los Angeles. I didn't even do that on purpose.
The tennis forward. Well, it really depends. I mean, I might be able to grab that bottle if the bartender lets me have it, but we'll see what happens. And before we get into that, let's see what's happening in our amazing chat. Hello, everyone in chat. Hello, Bob Amos. Nice to see you at the number one spot, as always.
Hi, Dad.
I like that. I'm going to put a gold star, even on my monitor, where I know that gold star is going to peel off. I'm going to put it right there waiting for your dad to show up, because that's where he deserves to be. Hello, Paul, Admiral, good to see you. Scott Palm, Evelyn, nice to see you. Carlos, Cosmo, Chris Riker, what thing? I don't know. The thing. You know that thing, right? We're all talking about that thing. Let's see. Sam, hello. David, good to see you. Let's scrolling down. John Arminio, probably the best name in chat next to Cooley, but I haven't seen Cooley yet. So John Arminio takes pole position on coolest name so far. Alan, well, no, Alan's too, but it's harder for me to read Alan's name because I always say Simons, but it's Simonis. And I probably got that wrong too, but either way, I'm sure Alan will let me know. Captain Mike, good to see you. Earl has posted the notes, so you make sure that you call or one tap or use the password, do the Zoom thing, and get yourself in line to talk about this show. How you doing, Holly?
I'm good.
Did you like my joke? You didn't like my joke? I couldn't tell.
I feel like you're trolling people because that's the main conversation, right? Why doesn't Guinan remember Picard from Time Zero? And I had the same question until I did timey-wimey thought process in my brain.
There's some timey-wimey stuff that's going on for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of timey-wimey stuff. I mean, I had to watch this episode a few times and my brain was very pretzel afterwards.
Well, I mean, the great thing about having everyone here call in live, and we can talk about it, because when you get like a lot of eyeballs on like one subject, you can see things from a lot of different perspectives, and I think that's going to help out maybe, and just kind of like see where we are. But everyone really needs to go see or look up Dayton Ward's schematic of the divergence of the timeline, because it's literally like Doc Brown style schematic from like Back to the Future. It's like, Marty, here's where we went wrong, and then all of a sudden it's this blue line goes this way versus the red line that goes this way. It's kind of that simple, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think so. Right.
Well, it's not linear, but
no, but it's
easy to understand if you can see it in your head. I can see it in my head. It makes sense to me.
I'm pretty sure this thing should be on some kind of a t-shirt, right? Because we love t-shirts. It'll look probably like, like a UK like bus map or something like that, or like the tube or an underground like train station by the time we're done with it. So anyway, all that aside, just to make sure everyone's keeping score, if you're playing the home game, this week on Mission Log, our coverage of Voy continues. I did save time. Voy continues this Thursday with Phage, the one about the delicious Greek yogurt. It is right. I think we got that right. And this time we're mixing it in with a heavy dose of delicious Starfleet morality.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Oh, yeah. And then also we have Mission Log Prodigy coming back. Ashley V. Robinson and I are doing episodes 6 through 10, and we're looking at it from the adult perspective. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. And then also we have the Mission Log, Orville and Mission Log Engage. And they're going to be taking the week off this week. They'll be coming back with new episodes next week. So make sure that you go to the Rod and Bear YouTube channel, and then make sure that you like and you subscribe and share amongst your friends, so that all the new episodes will ding you and let you know when they're available for you. That's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot going on, right?
There's always a lot going on now. It's exciting.
So. I know, right? As before, it's like, well, what's going on with Star Trek this week? I don't know. Only one show? Not anymore.
Yeah. And we have a convention coming up, guys. I'm gonna go to Mission Chicago.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it first, or maybe second, because Holly said that on Twitter, I think.
Yeah,
today.
I did say it on Twitter yesterday. I was like, I'm just gonna buy a ticket and go.
What made you decide for Chicago?
I think I mentioned this to a couple of people who responded to my tweet. Well, I mean, aside from the fact that it's the new, I've never been to Chicago. It's the new license convention. I'd like to see how Reed Pop does.
Never?
What?
First time? First time?
I've never been to Chicago.
Awesome.
No. Right. But I'd like to see Ken Mitchell again for sure.
Yeah, sure.
Because we don't know how much longer he will be around. Yeah, so I decided to go.
That's awesome. So everyone look out for Holly there. Make sure that you wear I'm with Holly t-shirt so that you can find you. Make sure it's red, right? And big letters and an arrow pointing one way or the other so that when you take pictures, you're standing with her. I'm with Holly. Like Disneyland style, right? Someone's going to do it. I really shouldn't have made that idea public. But anyway, so here we go. We're going to go into the recap because we have a lot to talk about. I mean, a lot to talk about with Star Trek Picard. Here we go. Season 2, episode 4, Watcher. Aboard the crashed La Sirena, Picard and Agnes try to contact their away teams, but Rios, Raffi, and Seven are now out of comms range. Raffi and Seven have tracked Rios to a medical clinic, but are told he and Teresa, the doctor who runs the clinic, were taken by ICE after being raided. After cloaking their ship, Picard takes Agnes to the currently abandoned Chateau Picard, where Jean-Luc explains to Agnes it was once occupied by the Nazis, as his ancestors escaped to England. However, they discover that Agnes is fixated on the number 15, and they realize that the 15th is the date when they need to stop whatever Q has in store for this timeline, 3 days from when they crash landed here on Earth, April 12th, 2024. After persuading a local punk to turn off his damn noise blaring from his personal speaker system, Raffi and Seven continue their pursuit for Rios on a local bus. Back on La Sirena, Picard has Agnes beam him to Los Angeles so he too can try and track down the Watcher. And sure enough, as if the currents of fate intervened, he materializes on 10 Forward Avenue and realizes where he is, and most importantly, who can help him. However, after taking in what appears to be a ramshackle of a bar establishment, Jean-Luc is met by a much younger and far more cynical version of a woman who will become his best friend 400 years from now, Guinan. After berating a clerk at LAPD headquarters, Raffi and Seven are told by an onlooker that ICE is separated from the police, and that's where they will find Rios, who is in fact in an ICE detention cell, discovering firsthand via taser just how advanced 21st century justice really is. Back in 10 Forward, Jean-Luc only lets Guinan know a very few details of his mission, but her sudden nausea confirms that he is telling the truth. Well, that and him knowing that she is an El-Orian, which proves that he is not all he appears to be as well. Picard begs her to help find the Watcher before it's too late, but Guinan is packing up her life here on Earth for good, embittered with what she has seen over the centuries of hate, war, racism, and unspeakable evils mankind has done to themselves and to the planet. Time is running out to find Rios as Raffi and Seven break into a police vehicle, hack into its computer system to locate where he is, and steal the SUV because it's faster than taking the bus. Well, not according to Raffi, who isn't much of a fan of Seven's driving. Locking down Rios' coordinates, Agnes, who has made certain concessions in exchange for the Borg Queen's help, she locks onto Raffi and Seven and beams them nearby where Rios' transport is heading, Sanctuary District near the US and Mexico border. As they figure out how to save Rios from the prison transport back outside of 10 Forward, Picard convinces Guinan to take him to see the Watcher by revealing to her his name and who he really is. She then takes Picard to a nearby park where she leaves him behind and at the mercy of several different handlers who are all possessed by the Watcher's influence, until finally he comes face to face with Laris, or at least the guise of a powerful being who summons a doorway where she and Picard both walk through and vanish. Finally, outside Jackson Roykirk Plaza, Q entertains himself with a monologue only Picard would truly appreciate. And as he tries to punctuate his sentiments with his signature snap, Q realizes his snap has changed nothing, to which he replies, "That's unexpected," he says, "and most unfortunate." The end.
Whee!
Keeping it short because we have lots of stuff to talk about.
You consider that to be short?
Just shorter than what I usually say, right?
Okay,
that's fair. Right? Okay, so
Lot
time to
going
get
on.
into it. Yeah, time to get into the lots going on. First impressions.
Holly. This is why I don't watch Doctor Who. Too much timey-wimey gives me a headache. I'm with Janeway.
Indeed.
With Janeway on this. I appreciate all of the little nods and all of the Easter eggs, as always, because I'm that type of person. But yeah, it was a great episode. It's my favorite episode so far. So
I love the title game that John and I do on Mission Log. And I kind of like where they're going with Watcher instead of the Watcher, which makes it more of like a noun. But Watcher or Watch Her, I kind of dig. Right?
Yeah.
Because there are like a lot of strong women, strong female characters in this episode that have a lot of agency and are driving the story. I mean, you have Picard's mom, you have Guinan, you have the Borg Queen looking at Agnes all the time. You have
Raffi and Seven.
Raffi and Seven, right? You have Dr. Ramirez looking over Rios. You have Laris, the Watcher. So watch her, watch Picard, or watch her, watch Laris, watch Picard, watch Guinan.
That's interesting that's the connection that you made, because as soon as they said something about a Watcher, I immediately thought of Who Watches the Watchers?
Sure.
The episode of TNG. And I was like, we're the Watchers. We're always the Watchers, or we are in the future anyway.
I personally went to Highlander because that's a character type on Highlander. Those who watch the people that, are the immortals who lead the story, much like, I don't know, like what the Watchers mean here, but, I thought it was an interesting, clever kind of like double entendre for the title. Welcome to Star Trek. Now I'm going to probably butcher her name. Ito Aghayeri.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. I've only ever read her name. I've not actually heard it pronounced. So
young Guinan. I think that Ito was phenomenal.
She's great.
Just phenomenal.
Also, real jealous of her arm situation. And like toned Janeway. Fantastic, you guys.
Yep. So I just think that she brought this weariness that Guinan has, but Whoopi has a really good way of using it to her advantage when she's making a point, but not always kind of like universally world weary. But this Guinan, she is done. Stick a fork in her, done. Right? I'm off this planet, done. I'm like Men in Black, evacuating like everything, done. Like I'm
right. She did a great job of channeling the Guinan that we know, while adding that cynicism and not completely undermining the character itself.
I love in this episode that they go like deep into, or they commit, to some of the dialogue. There's a line that this Guinan says that I applauded. I just flat out, I was there and I applauded it when she said, "This century took off a hood and put on a suit."
Pretty blatant.
Right?
Very blatant social commentary. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, this was as definable, like audibly, as Bella and Lokai were in their, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield was visually.
Yes.
Sometimes you just have to be like that on the nose and say, hey, you know what? This is reality. Listen.
Yeah. So not only is she talking, she has a lot of really great lines, and not only does she have that one and a few others where she's talking about the issue of racism that we are continuing to experience. But she also has a line about, did you know that they're killing the planet? So there's a lot of social commentary on climate change as well, which I appreciate. So,
and not just with Guinan, but, with Rios as well. I mean, I was a former, Southern Californian, you're a current Southern Californian, and any Los Angelian would probably find, a great deal of truth in what was happening with Rios and the raids and ICE, and how, Hispanics or detained citizens, quote unquote, or at least detained human beings under the auspices of ICE are being treated.
Yeah. Raffi finding the list. Oh, we just have to look up there, a Hispanic male and a Hispanic female couldn't be that hard. And then it's like everyone.
Yeah.
She's like, there's so many. Yeah.
Just a couple more points I wanted to bring up here, because I know we have a lot of callers, but, a couple things that I felt very, very strongly about. Butterfly effect. It's impossible in a time travel episode of any stripe to try and contain the butterfly effect.
Yeah,
Let's,
I mean, there's,
you know,
I mean, from the second they beamed in, even the little girl that saw Seven, are you a superhero? That little girl is going to be telling that story for the rest of her life. Like, it's, you can't avoid, but this is where, you know, like myths come from, I guess.
right. It's like well, I mean, like on Sigma Iosha, right? You know, Dr. McCoy left his communicator. That became kind of like the storyline for like another video game later on down the road, but there's always going to be a fingerprint. I mean, Rios is, his communicator still in the wind.
Right. And I mean, obviously, like I mean, I was going to say Rios is actually the most egregious in terms of butterflies, but I mean, stealing a cop car, beaming out in front of all of those cops feels pretty bad too. Speaking of butterflies though, have you noticed the butterfly symbolism throughout everything?
A little bit, but yeah.
Well, the little girl in this episode, the first person that we see she's not the Watcher, but it's the Watcher sort of like in her body. Yeah. She's wearing a butterfly dress, but the name of the clinic, the medical clinic, is Butterfly in Spanish. And then the logo is a butterfly. And then they have like some butterfly art on the refrigerator. And that seems to be a little bit of a running theme. I like symbolism.
Well, I mean, I think it's important. I think it's more important than people may realize, and it's going to come back. I mean, there's a lot of details that are already kind of pinging off each other, like since the very first episode. But let's see what our callers have to say. So we have a lot of callers lined up. Can't wait to hear from these guys. Chris is up. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Hey, doing good. Good to see you, Norm.
Where are you
today? Good to see you too.
I'm up on the balcony where Q is at the end of the episode. I literally just screen grab the episode if I move. There's John.
There's John Delancey.
Nice. Does your snap work? Does your snap work?
Let's see. I don't know. Maybe something happened. Maybe.
Something happened. You never know.
Yeah, but no, this is up on the Wilshire Grand Center. I've yet to go up there in person, but it is on my list because I know where it is. And this building, this Barnwell building, like I said last week, is the train station downtown. The subway station that I often go to.
I was in downtown LA yesterday. I was working with a client and I was like, oh, I get all the buildings.
Right?
We're all in Star Trek now.
It's very fun being an LA person watching this season. Like the whole car chase is like right down by Staples Center.
That's what I thought.
They're just going around Staples Center in like a big circle.
And the convention center too. You can see the convention center when they stop. Yeah.
You can see kind of like the angular walls, like the sides of like the building, like that, you know, around like the whole Staples Center complex. Yeah. They must have like put up those concrete pylons and just let like the stunt drivers, or maybe it is Michelle, maybe it is, you know, Jerry, like driving around that SUV, but basically in a giant oval.
Yeah. If I was an actor and I was given a role that needed to go on some sort of car chase or something, I would be like, I'm going to take classes. I want to do that. At least some of it. I would want to be doing some of the stunt work on that for sure.
They were like Starsky and Hutch, but like cooler and way more beautiful. But anyway, so what did you think of this episode, Chris? I mean, as Holly and I were bringing up a lot of these aspects of, there's a lot of social media ire about it on both sides. When I say ire, it's just, I'm saying that there are a lot of emotional responses on both sides. Where do you fall with this episode?
I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed sort of the sort of shake you by your collar aspect of it. Because even if you go back, because sort of the argument is in, well, it's always, Star Trek has been an allegory. But even if you go back to, like, say, Private Little War, yes, it's veiled, but it's very, very thinly veiled, especially if you were watching in, like, the 60s. Like, it's very clearly that's Vietnam. And so whether or not you have that tiny amount of veil, I don't think we'll see. I'm liking it so far.
Well, they don't. So here's the thing is, like, they're in a time that is only 2 years away from where we are now. So it's not going to be thinly veiled. They don't have to thinly veil it. We're in the same time frame as they are.
Right. There's this whole, like, why are they making, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm generalizing what I read on social media, but why are they making things so obvious? I'm like, it's not, they're making them obvious. It's already obvious if you're paying attention. Right. So it's not like they're saying like, oh, let's create this and, you know, this allegory about, you know, what's happening sociopolitically right now.
It's not even an allegory because
just
again,
turn on the TV.
Yeah, they're just,
or watch something in social media. I mean, there are reasons why people are fighting on social media and not about this subject, but about the subjects in real time because they're happening. Right?
No, yeah, I totally agree. And I would say I hope that I don't mind this. I would like to see that maybe further down the line we get to sort of the solution part, like how do you fix this part, because we haven't quite gotten there yet. We've gotten a lot of wallowing in that it's very bad and like it is very bad, but I would like a little bit more of how can you pivot, which I think we'll maybe get towards the end or in a couple episodes here. But the other thing, I'm curious what you guys' take on this was at the very end, right before Guinan leaves, Picard says, change always comes later than you think it should.
Oh, I wrote that quote down in my notes.
So I get what they're going for, is that change always happens, but to me, the way they phrased it, that's just a little depressing, that it's like, it always comes later than you think it should. You always have to suffer just a little more.
Well, I think it also sort of harkens back to Cisco saying sort of something similar in past tense, is that like all of these terrible things had to happen for people to sort of wake up and want to make the change, which creates the future that they're enjoying with the Federation and everything. And we know that, without that whole, the Bell Riots and stuff, that the Federation actually doesn't come into existence. So I think it's sort of along the same lines, right? Yeah, it's a little bit depressing that we're going to have to experience some terrible things, and we're going to have to, as a species and as a country, make a lot of really horrific mistakes, but hopefully something good comes out of it because we learn.
I mean, we all kind of like hold on to, I'm not going to say we all, but there's a certain segment of Star Trek fans that holds on to the ideal of what happened in the City on the Edge of Forever, that in order for future to change, in order for us to get out of World War II, Edith Keeler had to become the ultimate sacrifice, the sacrificial lamb, so that her plan for this universal peace actually wouldn't have thrown off the balance of power, between the Axis powers and the Allied powers. So is that what we're getting to?
It's a very much Edith Keeler must die situation.
It'll be interesting to see if that is kind of like the linchpin. Like if this person, who may or may not be close to Captain Picard, or Jean-Luc Picard, I should say, will he have to make the sacrifice for this person or of this person in order for the Confederacy to not exist?
Right.
That'll be an interesting, and you know what? It's not outside of the realm of Star Trek, not to borrow, be self-referential, in its material, if it's done so in a different and a little bit more original way. So it could happen, but I guess we're gonna find out.
We're only 4 episodes in, so.
That's true.
I say only 4 because I think that it's always 26 episodes, and it's absolutely not. We're actually almost halfway through. So.
And what is this? 13? Another 13?
No, I think we're 10, aren't we?
Is it 10?
It was 10 last season, so
I think it's 10. I think this next episode is the halfway mark.
Holy Moses! Come on now.
Going quickly.
All right. One last thing for you, Chris, before we let you go.
Yes. For more rampant speculation, I really want a Orla John Delancey scene. If Orla is
yes,
because I think she can definitely. She as an actress can hold her own against John Delancey, and if she is the sort of super being that she seems to be, I would love to see them sort of face off for at least a sequence. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, and she would be coming from the standpoint of like not really knowing, aside from, Elari and Tingle or whatever we want to call it, that she sort of like, she inherently knew that Yara was supposed to be dead during yesterday's Enterprise. But their run-ins in TNG are like very hardcore. Like I would like to see that too.
That would be interesting. And yes, to have actors of their caliber be able to work together on the same scene or scenes would be really, really, really beneficial. It would be a special moment for the audience, that's for sure. Chris, good to see you. Good to see you, my friend. And good to see you. Thanks for calling in. Pipe up in the chat if you have any more questions. We'll see if we can get to them. There's a lot of great stuff going on in chat. And unfortunately, we are going to have to kind of like, I hate ignoring chat. I try not to ignore chat, but I'm going to actually pick a chat idea here. Jane, I think Jane says, or let's see, Paradox says, someone says, is Agnes really the Borg queen? Jane says, it sure does look that way. I have a theory about that.
Oh, yeah, you do have a theory that didn't even occur to me because apparently I'm too focused on Easter eggs.
I have a theory about that, and maybe we'll hold on to that until maybe for later on, towards the end of the episode. Holly, please remind me if I don't remember, because I usually don't remember most things anymore. So thanks, Chris. And we're going to get right on to the Vice Admiral. Vice Admiral, how are you doing?
Tonight?
Good evening,
I'm
sir.
great. I'm great. I see Chris brought up some of the serious heavy stuff, so
Yeah.
But it's a serious heavy episode for the most part.
It is, but there's also some deep stuff, as I'm sure Holly, if not yourself, Norman, is ready to talk about, which is, of course, the supervisor.
Yeah. Love all these kind of like modern middle to upper management titles that they're throwing around.
No, that's not where that's from. That's from Assignment Earth.
Yes, we had, there are a lot of references, obviously, to some big.
Well, that door at the end was exactly the smoke-filled vault door look that Gary Seven's transporter had.
Yep. It sure is.
If we see ISIS, I'm going to cry. So,
well, I think we already have.
Oh, you think? Oh, yeah. You have a theory?
How does Laris? How does whoever this supervisor is look exactly like Laris, if not because they're a shape-shifting being in the first place?
Yeah, but not Romulan, right? So she doesn't have the Romulan ears.
No, she probably wouldn't do that specifically because she's on Earth, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I had an entire theory that Laris wasn't Romulan to begin with, even in the Picard that we saw.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
I would agree with you, except that her backstory is well established in the comics that come before the first season of Picard, and there was no hint of that, and that's been described as canon. So I'm not sure that can fly.
I don't think that comics are canon. Sorry, if it's
not. But they are connecting them the way that
I'm just saying. If I don't see it on screen, I don't read it.
I agree with you, but I'm just saying that would break that at least.
Yeah.
But there's no reason why. We never know exactly who. I mean, he was called the supervisor, Gary was, but what was her job? We only saw one episode. We never got the season. So is she really the one in charge? Was ISIS the?
Are we seeing another shot at Assignment Earth for Paramount Plus? Is that what we're saying?
They say there's 3 shows in the works, and they didn't tell us what all 3 of them are, did they?
Oh my God, that would be awesome,
wouldn't it?
That would
finally, after all this time, we get that season finale backdoor pilot coming back to become a different thing entirely.
That'd be fun. That'd be super fun.
It's so meta. Star Trek is so meta these days.
It is, but that's like even more meta.
Yeah.
Right? The only thing I'm not sure about here is that is in the ready room piece of next week's episode. The Laris lookalike says that she's there to watch his timeline, not the timeline.
Oh,
see,
I think I know what she means by that.
I hope so, because
I have theories.
Because you wouldn't have this powerful alien race just protecting one guy. I would hope. I mean, that would just be way too. All right, that's not really Trek. That's another show that's not Trek.
Not just, but probably not. This is not just him though, right? Like not.
No, his entire line, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
But in that line, though, there's something about that line that's of galactic import, right?
Right.
So you have to have somebody on there, like kind of just making sure that, okay, it's kind of like Kenobi looking over Luke Skywalker, right? You don't really have to be there. You just have to make sure that nothing happens to him. I mean, he can like skin his knee, or, he can, risk himself, trying to bullseye womp rats in his T-16 back home because they're not bigger than 2 meters. But anyway.
Or go to visit his friends at Tashi Station, whatever it
exactly.
takes.
He can waste time, whenever his chores are done. But the point is that they're too important to not, to not at least govern in some way, or nudge in the right direction. So we'll see. I think that seeing Laris at the end, or the character that has taken Laris's appearance, it's too important that the Laris at the beginning of this season was making a point of trying to establish this deeper connection with Picard, and then going nowhere with it and then you have her inserted at the end here.
Right, because nothing is. I don't really feel like the writers ever put anything in that's not of some sort of importance, even if it's a ways down the road.
Right. That's why you think that the character we're seeing as the lookalike is in fact possibly Laris somehow, or that Laris at least is of the same type of watcher.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, after seeing kind of like the grandiose idea of the species 10C, from Discovery, I like that you're not just, I think that the writers are trying to flex a little bit and say like, hey, you know what? Let's play with some even larger powers out there, larger abilities, larger consequences, and see where it goes. I think it'd be interesting to see if there's like even like a more influential galactic power out there that can even say keep the Q in line.
Well, somebody's turned off his powers.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, right? So,
so
we will see. And we have just a little bit of time left for you here, Vice Admiral, before we take a break here mid-show to talk about the audiobook. Sir, is anything that you'd like to get across just one last time?
I would just like to say that this episode was certainly a lot more fun than half of the episodes of Picard have been so far. This was really wonderful, and I'm looking forward to seeing if they continue down that escalating path of getting better and better. Not that I don't love Picard, I do, but this was great. This was really great.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought I had a lot of fun with it too. And again, with the self-referential humor, like seeing Kirk the punk, on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, right? It's funny. It doesn't have to mean really anything about anything. Laugh, move on. There's a lot more show to get to. That's the way I saw it, right?
Yeah.
So, and I hope others saw it that way too. But I know that there are the detailer nitpickers out there that have that see everything into everything, and that's okay too. Right?
Opinions vary.
True enough. All right. Thanks, Vice Admiral. Good to see you.
Norm, Holly, good to see you too. See you again soon. Take care.
All righty.
Should Buzz Punk have had like AirPods and just been sort of like singing under his breath? That's what I feel like should have happened, but I know what they were trying to do. So
yeah, there was that thing. I saw that out there on social media, and they're like, shouldn't he be like, listening to like beats, by Dre with his iPad, maybe like singing out loud too. I'm like, yeah, that you could do that, but then it wouldn't be funny.
But and then I mean, I know that they just wanted like a full-on reenactment of that, sequence. So
like, come on, man, it's just goofy.
I laughed.
So we're going to tell you all about something that we have been covering the last few episodes, and that is the Star Trek Picard audio drama, No Man's Land.
Speaking of the extended universe and things that are canon.
Exactly. So you've heard this before, but we just want to let you know again, just to make sure that you enter for your chance to win. So if you want to win your copy of the Star Trek Picard audio drama, No Man's Land, simply post with our hashtag Mission Log Live and the book title, No Man's Land, and we'll announce a winner on the show every Monday night for the next few weeks. Now, it started 6 weeks ago, and now we are into our, I believe, third week. Yeah. So we're going to have our winner announced at the end of our ad break here. But before we do that, Sally's going to tell you a little bit more about the audiobook.
I am going to tell you more about the audiobook. Okay, so No Man's Land takes place between seasons 1 and 2 of Picard. So it is canon. Mm-hmm. 7 of 9 and Raffi are enjoying some much needed R&R. They are interrupted by an urgent cry for help. They team up to rescue a mysterious ageless professor endangered by a vicious Romulan warlord. And our lead characters tentatively explore the attraction hinted at in the finale of Picard season 1. Are we kind of seeing some of that too this season? Yes. No Man's Land is an original, fully dramatized Star Trek adventure, written and produced exclusively for audio, complete with authentic sound effects for a fully immersive and seamless experience. No Man's Land is the work of Kirsten Beyer, who is the co-creator, writer, and producer for Picard, and Mike Johnson, who is a veteran contributor to the Star Trek comic books publishing program at IDW. Jerry Ryan as 7 of 9, and Michelle Hurd as Raffi, of course. They are joined in this full cast audio dramatization by a host of talented actors playing all new characters, including Fred Tatasciore, who we know as the voice of Lieutenant Shax from Lower Decks. So more Star Trek alumni. Star Trek storylines have long challenged assumptions and contributed to real-world cultural progress, and the same-sex attraction as the basis of No Man's Land continues this tradition. No Man's Land is published with the full support and participation of Star Trek, CBS, Paramount Plus, and the creative and promotional teams.
So even if you haven't won it yet and you still want to, purchase it, I highly recommend it. I have listened to it, and I'm sure that we will have a mission log live covering that. But until then, make sure that you follow the rules. Make sure that you hashtag out our on our Twitter official Mission Log Twitter address at Mission Log Live. That's hashtag Mission Log Live. Make sure you put the book title in your feed. Make sure that you say No Man's Land, so that when we look for the next winner next week, we have that. And this week, drum roll, please. I know we don't have a drum roll, and I'm sorry.
I can't drum roll. I'm terrible at that.
That's whip roll. That's Adam L.-J. at Big Bass Bone. So congratulations, Adam at Big Bass Bone, or you are at Big Bass Bone. Now, Adam's a professional bass trombone player, according to his Twitter handle. Are you a Riker fan, Adam? Let us know.
He also, according to his Twitter, lives in Long Beach.
Oh, fellow SoCaler. So very, very cool. Congratulations. Enjoy that special audiobook, which will make your ear holes happy. I can guarantee you, if you're a fan of also Picard and a fan of Michelle Hurd's and Jerry Ryan's voices. I am. So thank you so much. Make sure that you follow us on Twitter. Make sure that you get your hashtag out there. Make sure you enter for your chance to win. All right. So let's get back into our next caller. Our next caller looks like it's going to be Dave. What's up, Dave?
Catchy. In the are we in the
Chateau Picard's field?
Yeah, I think in the Chateau Picard fields.
Is he covering up La Serena? Your La Serena's cloaking device right now.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, hello, Norm and Holly. I really appreciate you talking to me, taking the time.
Hello.
I really like this episode. However, the first thing I thought of was this one made me think the most about the timelines. And I apologize if you guys have gone over this because
no, we have not.
I knew that
it was going to come up.
Yeah.
We were waiting to the whole show.
Yeah, we were waiting to bring it, we were waiting to bring that into the organic conversation. So
yeah. So here's the question for me, because I've seen a couple of representations of it, and I even made one myself to try and figure it out. So the first question is, when Guinan does recognize Picard by name, does she recognize his name or himself from an alternate reality? That's the question.
Yes.
And then it leads to this. If this alternate reality does exist, then how can the two realities that we're seeing be mutually exclusive? They're not. They exist separately. If mutually exclusive, why are Picard and friends trying to change some event that happens on April 15th rather than just return to the reality they belong? That's something to think about. Is
because timey-wimey.
So,
Holly is the past is the future. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
Holly and I were talking about this before we started recording. And basically, I think a lot. So as Star Trek fans, we like having a lot of our things either explained away or be able to be explained or be able to dive into with enough lore and enough factual information inside universe and canon canonically to be explained. But I think it's because we don't know enough about the powers and kind of like the abilities of the El-Orians to be able to use that as some type of like a litmus test against kind of like the series of events that are going on like right now. We don't know exactly what they're capable of, but we do know based on yesterday's Enterprise and based on, let's say, in Generations, that they can sense when things are temporally askew.
Right.
Like she knew, right? Like you said, Holly.
She knew that Yar, you're not supposed to. Yesterday's Enterprise, she's like, you're not supposed to be here. And Yar's like, where am I supposed to be? You're supposed to be dead. Like,
right.
She doesn't know anything more than that. Like, she's like, I don't like that. I don't know how I know that. I don't know why I know that. I don't know how you like, she doesn't know anything more than like, you're not supposed to be here and you're supposed to be dead.
It's very well possible in today's kind of like the way that everyone are telling their stories in this multiverse. You have the multiverse of Marvel. Now you have the multiverse of Star Wars. You have the multiverse of this, that, the other thing. It's very well possible that the El-Arians live in infinite time. There's this quantum theory of it's kind of like, what say Tom Paris experienced in Threshold, that he was in, this quantum singularity of time where everything exists exactly the same time. But maybe that's where the El-Orians they exist in infinite time, but they can only understand certain things about each version of themselves in that infinite time. Right. So I don't know. This is all speculations. You know why? Because I have no idea what I'm talking about. This is all fantasy. This is all science fiction and fantasy. But what we do know about Guinan is that she knows when things are wrong, right? And I don't think that she didn't recognize Picard. She just recognized that something about him was special.
His name. I think she
Right.
recognizes his name.
Perhaps. But it was enough for him to say, like, I'm going to take a chance, and I haven't told you my name. Here's my name. And then she's like, she wasn't like, I know you, or like, why? It's just, okay. Now I'm
They were
going to
very
take you,
smart about that. Yeah.
right? Now I'm going to take you to the next stage of your journey. It's not me. It's
Mhm.
this next person, right? Who I'm setting up as being this really, really threatening type of character that even scares Guinan, or at least this version of Guinan. So yeah, they're very vague. They're vague booking this very well, I think.
So it sounds like what you're trying to say, Norm, is watch episode 5.
Yeah.
Well,
you know,
I mean, that's
they-
what the writers want you to do. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're doing a fantastic job at us being like, what does it all mean? And I can't
I'm
wait
trying
for
to
the next
yeah.
episode.
I'm trying to condense, like, the 5-page PDF that they told us to tell the audience about, but bullet points, I'm telling you, they're just as difficult as trying to make sense of all this time travel. But here's the thing, and this is the chat out there also. Even if you can't make sense of all this, the temporal, equation of all of this, are you being entertained?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, is it entertaining up to a point where you're like, you know what? If I just turn my brain off and not try to connect every dot,
Yeah.
it makes just enough sense.
Right.
Or are we in this kind of like in this era of being Star Trek fans where everything has to be connected in every single possible way or it fails? Right?
Mhm.
I mean, I don't want to get to that point, right? It's not fun. It's just not fun. I mean, yeah, some things are going to be blatantly wrong. Yeah, forgive the writers. They're only human, and maybe they didn't do their homework. I get that. But some things are going to be incredibly right? And those are the fun, spontaneous stuff that creates, all these different side stories, like with Raffi and Seven, and with Rios and the Doctor, or in Girardi and the Borg Queen. And I have a theory about that, but I'll get to that later.
We're still holding off on that. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, the timeline stuff, like I had to watch this episode a couple of times, and I think my original question was the same as everybody else. It was like, why doesn't she know him from the events of Time Zero? 'Cause Time Zero didn't happen.
That's what I understand. Again, I love Dayton's schematic of the whole. Here's what you need to understand about this episode. Follow this blue line, and it takes you here. Follow this red line, and it takes you here.
Yep.
And then just scroll backwards, and there are like paragraphs of explanations of what this means and what that means. Read this, and then get
Right.
back to it.
That's what I came up with, is that despite the apparent divergence on April 15, the
Mhm.
two timelines exist separately, even though they're sort of adjacent to each other.
Right.
So in the one timeline, Time Zero happened, and the one timeline it didn't, and that's the one we're in now.
Right.
So-
That's
but
exactly
the
what
pro-
it is, because
Exactly, but-
whatever this change is that Q made, that's like they're in an entirely separate. So the future is not a thing anymore. Our future, the Federation future, they're in the past of the Confederation.
And,
Right.
and that's just what leads me to the question is if they're not mutually exclusive, meaning they both exist separately.
Right.
So-
Or I mean, a lot of people see it as like branches, especially if you talk about Star Trek 2009, there is a change in that timeline that branches off and is the Kelvin universe, right? And then those are parallel to each other. And that being obviously that the Narada goes back in time. So I understand temporal stuff doesn't mean that I enjoy turning my brain into a pretzel.
Yeah, but hey, it makes a great conversation.
But we're at Coffee in Jackson Roy Kirk Plaza.
Yeah, well, that was cool. I mean,
Oh
like,
my God, you guys, so many
Easter eggs. Right?
Yeah,
and
I mean, Roy Kirk, yeah. Floyd's barbershop. Yeah.
And it's interesting because you have Roy Kirk. I always had this theory that the R in James R. Kirk and Where No Man Has Gone Before is actually Roy.
Oh,
So, yeah, I know it's probably not, but that's my theory. Then you have Kirk R. Thatcher, right, who was on the bus. A lot of Kirk going on in this
Yeah.
episode, right? Yeah, but I just treat Easter eggs as that, like nice little nuggets where old fans like, we'll be like, all right. So
yeah, I mean, even the bus punk doesn't really fall into the whole, the Federation doesn't exist. And, he references his neck, which, he's remembering the neck pinch from Spock. But, if we're in Confederation, like,
but here's the thing.
Vulcans are actively being killed off, and maybe that's not a thing. So I just sort of had to remove my brain from that and be like, that's a nice little shout out to something that we all enjoy. I mean, Star Trek 4 is my favorite movie. So I was like, yeah, that's
technically his third
fun.
appearance as the punk, but not on a bus every time.
And he did voiceover for one of the shorts because one of his very close friends directed it. Ephraim and Da.
Oh.
He's really good friends with Michael Giacchino.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he did voiceover work on one of the shorts. So. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna get Alan on the phone here. So, Dave, any last thoughts, or
No.
are you okay with kind of like juggling all this information? Because that's a deep question. Like, are we enjoying like all these multiple timelines? Do we need to make sense of them? Do they exist? Are they mutually exclusive? How does this all fit together? Or, I mean, where are you going to land? Like, is this going to like in any way kind of like distract you from your enjoyment of the show, or you're just gonna accept it for what it is?
No, I'm not one of those people that lets those kind of things affect my enjoyment of the show. I'm very interested in the philosophy or the concept of that and how they explain it or how it's to be explained, I guess. But I guess I'm sort of compartmentalizing that versus the show. I mean, who doesn't like it? It's very entertaining, right? So.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think this for me has been one of the more, if not the most entertaining Picard episode that I've seen between the two seasons. But maybe it's because that it's very familiar, like, car chases in the 21st century, seeing, Raffi and Seven kind of like, do their laps around Staples Center Plaza, or seeing kind of like something that's almost looks like you're like right outside of LA and you're headed towards like Riverside, or Irvine, where Raffi was going.
It's not called Staples Center anymore.
Oh, no.
It's not called Staples.
LA Live area. I don't know what the center's called, but
it's called crypto.com.
Crypto.com. Okay.
Dang. Yeah, it's they renamed it. It's
we just found the divergence
arena.
in the timeline. We just found the divergence in the timeline.
It's when they renamed Staples Center to Crypto. Yeah, yes.
There it
absolutely.
Is. All right. Thanks, Dave, for calling in, man. Appreciate it.
Problem.
Good to see you. All right.
Enjoy.
I will never not call it the Staples Center.
That hurts. That hurts me right in the feels. Wow. That's so not good. Yeah. All right. Alan, what's happening, man? Cheer us up. Say something.
Well, as a native suburban Chicagoan, I feel the same way about Sears Tower. It's Sears Tower. It will always be Sears Tower, no matter what else they decide to call it.
It's not Sears Tower anymore?
It is not.
No, but it's not, you know what? It's not even out of some sort of like gatekeepy spite or anything that I have. It's that it's completely like, it's always been the Staples Center to me. And it's just a habit. Like, I'm not going to be able to call it the crypto.com current arena or whatever. Like, it's just, I can't exercise that out of myself, I don't think.
Oh, no. Yeah. It's just, you get, locked, not locked in as in a bad way, but you make patterns, your brain interprets things in certain ways, and it's like that building is that thing no matter what it ends up being, kind of like going by I live, in my town. I can, go by and see all of the ex fast food restaurants that have become new fast food restaurants, but they haven't changed the exterior. And it's still like, that used to be a Taco Bell. I know it used to be a Taco Bell.
I'm looking at you, Pizza Barn, not Pizza the Hut,
exactly. Yeah, there's a chain of barbecue restaurants that is notorious for that. And the first one is right by my college. And it used to be it was, when I went to college, it was a Pizza Hut. Then it was a police dispatch center for traffic citations. And then it became a barbecue joint. So
okay, the police one is a little bit wild card.
Yeah, you got to throw a little variety in there.
I'm not even going to go with the obvious pun for that. Not even going to go there. Not even go there. So we have just a little bit of time for you and a little bit of time for Paul. So how did you feel? Like, did we get to everything that we should be talking about in this episode, or did we miss something? Did we miss something for you?
Oh, well, no. I mean, just I'll echo kind of what you were just talking about. that, yeah, the show is enjoyable. This was a very fun episode to watch in a lot of ways. And in many ways, yeah, one of the more fun episodes of Picard overall. And yeah, if I'm enjoying the episode, things like where does this fit and how does this work and all of canon issues in general are pretty low on the agenda in terms of am I enjoying this? It's like, yeah, it's either good or it's not, and how it technically works itself into the greater fabric of Star Trek is sort of secondary, because I think a lot of times when people think of canon issues first, then we get into kind of bad fanfic territory. And sort of some of I'm not going to make any judgment calls one way or the other on certain things, but bad I think we can agree that there are some novels, we'll just say there are some Star Wars novels that are lesser because they happen to be these things where, oh, we're just going to make sure that everyone meets Han Solo, and no matter what happens, everything sort of runs through him.
It's like Michael Burnham.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm watching Paul Harvard's reaction in the green room. He's like, ooh. Hey, Earl, can we bring both of these guys here at the same time? I'm gonna
step around that landmine. but speaking of fan fiction, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to Discord, but I've been having a lovely time creating my own sort of headcanon for Punk on the Bus and what he's been up to in the past 35 years, and how because Kirk and Spock and everybody may or may not have gone back to 1987, he never encountered them on the bus, but maybe, just maybe, a certain marine biologist who was smarting after the betrayal of having her whales taken away too soon might have gotten on that bus instead. And maybe these two people have struck up a conversation, and maybe an unlikely romance blooms.
Maybe he liked Italian.
Exactly.
Maybe he liked Michelob. Who knows?
He said Michelob.
Right.
Yeah.
You're writing something about Jillian Taylor?
Is something? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Who isn't?
Yay! I love Jillian Taylor. She's great.
If it were to be like an alternate, Star Trek 4 that's just about those two characters, the log line on the poster would be, "They stole her whales. She stole his heart."
the captain's log line. So,
yeah, there you go.
Yes. This is great stuff. Alan, you know what? Alan's on Discord.
Yeah.
If you want to read more of his original material, join us on patreon.com/missionlog. Join our Discord. Only $1 a month. And you can read some of this fantastic material. Exactly. See all the stuff that's going on.
See the things I do.
And the stuff he writes.
Know that I went to Hades Town over the weekend, because I posted about that too.
These are the interesting things you can see only for $1 a month. Just think.
Exactly.
Just think of wonders to behold. All right. Thanks for calling in, Alan. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a good one. And take it away, Mr. Harveth.
Hello.
Yes,
Paul, were you agreeing with me, or are you gonna fight me on it?
No, that was hilarious.
Hilarious.
It's a great one-liner. I think I sort of agree, but we've got Chicago to talk about it, and I just hope it snows for you. I hope it's like 12 degrees and snowing for Holly when she lands in Chicago.
I mean, I don't like snow, so I'm going to say I hope not. That being said, I did pick out my costumes the other day. Only one of them is new. It's not really a costume. It's one of my like after hours, sort of inspired by Trek Bounty situations. And knowing that we were going to be in Chicago, it is a sweater dress situation. So I did think about it being cold. So.
Well, you've been added to the Chicago Meetup group on Facebook, so feel free to comment there. We're hoping to meet up and have a kickoff party on Friday night for everybody. So
I think I'm coming in on Thursday, and then I'm leaving on Monday, so I'll be there the whole time.
Excellent. I just got a couple points. I thought this is for a next gen Picard super fan, this is just everything all rolled up in one. But I'm left with two thoughts that we talked about in the green room, which I think are probably the most interesting. I want to watch Jurati and the Borg Queen in the card game on the Enterprise, just to see who wins that.
You want to see them play poker?
With the crew of the Enterprise.
With the rest of them.
Okay. Yeah, because they're going to wipe out them. They won't even, they're not even entities, but the two of them, trying to one up each other in a card game, I think would be sort of fun, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, he's leading right into my theory. I can't believe it. He's leading right into my theory.
Wow. So to give you time for your theory, I have the one other point. When Q does that, is that the Q that told Picard to go backwards in time, or is it a Q in that timeline?
That's a good question. Right? That's a good question.
I think that it's the latter.
The Q of this timeline?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking it's the other way around. I mean, a couple weeks ago when I was the one who said, I think Guinan's going to be back there. And I was right. That was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But that would be a fun one to figure out in the end. I think it's actually the current Q trying to play with the whole situation, but he's lost control. And now the Laris thing is really a cool twist. I just love that.
I hope that Vice Admiral's right. I hope they're going into kind of like this. That's like a soft introduction, maybe to reintroducing Assignment Earth to like a brand new audience, and actually moving forward with it. I mean, think about it this way: Captain Pike only got a 47-minute episode. Period.
47. Sorry.
Right.
Keep going.
Or I mean, and he also got the menagerie, but Jeffrey Hunter only got like this much.
Yeah.
A sliver of the Star Trek pie. And now he's, the character, Christopher Pike, is getting an entirely new series.
Number one got even less time.
This is true.
So more of number one. Thank you.
So we're getting like the original stuff repackaged for a modern audience. You're getting Pike and his story. Now you're getting Gary Seven, possibly, and his story. Wouldn't that be interesting?
There's so much to enjoy in this episode as if you're just coming in or if just watch Next Gen and haven't seen the rest of it. I find the whole show just so intriguing on an entertainment value. I mean, I certainly can't put any mind power to figure out what may or may not be happening in a false universe, in a false fictitious kind of universe. But boy, the writing is really interesting. And even as a Doctor Who fan, I can't explain what's going on. I mean, he knows better than to step on his own timeline. So these folks are just ramping up, and the Rios experiment with this young doctor is going to be interesting to see how that plays out too.
This is like entering like Trenzalore, like convolution.
Right? Except there's no Daleks. We need some weird things. So we're going to let Norman talk about what he wanted to talk about all night long. You've got 2 minutes, Norman.
All right, so
let's hear it.
There's a lot of attention being paid to the relationship between Agnes Jurati and the Borg Queen. Now, the Borg Queen, I think she's on the decline. She's reaching out and she's trying to find a way to continue her existence because obviously she's programmed that way. What if somewhere along the line, say the next 2 episodes, the Borg Queen as we know her no longer ceases to be? But the only way that they're going to be able to repair the timeline is for a new Borg Queen to establish herself. What if that person is Agnes? What if she decides that, maybe she was right about me. Maybe the only way that I can find belonging in my existence is to be able to actually control and belong to the hive. Because it's not like what the Borg Queen is telling her isn't in some way attractive to her. So I'm just saying that might be a possibility just because of the way the relationship is firming up.
Horrifying.
I think it's awesome.
I mean, I think
it's absolutely awesome.
It's a really great theory, but like I'm thinking in terms of like if I were Agnes, I would be scared. But I'm also just terrified of the Borg. So,
but I think she'd be intrigued. I think she'd go for it in a second.
Oh, I absolutely do. Yeah, I mean, from the standpoint of the entire discussion about belonging and stuff. Yeah. think.
But here's the catch. The catch is, what if she has the ability? What if Agnes's mind is so strong or so compartmentalized that she has the ability to become an individual when she needs to be over the hive? A new era of Borg Queen, a new stage of her development, right? I mean, why do we have to go with the status quo of just having a leader for the Borg, right? Why not something different this time?
And they end up being the 10C.
Ah!
Yeah, right. And then you start, with pheromones and all that stuff. Yeah, but I don't know. I just, why not? I mean, this is an episode, or this is a series that's prompting a lot of why nots, what ifs, right? I think that's the beauty and the speculation of having some great Star Trek in front of us, is just you run with these ideas. Like, that's why I'm not a big fan of people latching onto what is and what isn't working in terms of like past canonical details. That in my opinion, that's planting yourself into a past that's already been established, right? You can only move laterally so much by using that information. You're never really moving forward with the ideas. You're never really exploring this could be really cool. Does it fall in line perfectly? No. You know what? Who cares? It has to be here. Are you entertained? Is it cool? Is it making your day better? Are you going to watch it again? Are you going to share it with your friends? Are you going to be excited the next time you watch it? Isn't that what matters? Right? Isn't that the beauty of entertainment? No, sure. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say like, well, that didn't really fit and did it with like the estate. Well, sure. There's going to be like deep cuts that can't be changed. You can't unpoint Spock's ears. You can't do it. Right. That stuff. Right. Or make Kirk like less amazing. You just can't do that. Right. But what I'm saying is that just have fun with it, people. Just enjoy it. Have fun with it. Be inspired by it. Inspire others by it. Right. And bring people into the fold. Introduce fans to a whole new generation of Guinan. Oh my God, right?
She's such a great character.
She was so good. I was just floored. And yes, her arms are sculpted amazing. Right?
Girl, anyway, get it. Yeah.
We are out of time. So Paul, that's I was saving that just for you. You set me up with that. Thank you.
Perfect, brother. Peace out. Live long and prosper. See you in Chicago.
See you, buddy. That's it. That's it, Holly. I think Paul really wants the bad weather for you because he can't out-zing you.
I can't listen. I can't drive there. I have to make sure that I can pack all the costumes that I want to bring. I'm being very selective. I don't have room for my snow boots.
It's not. No, see, the thing is that it's not going to be cold that way. It's going to be like the Windy City it's like a knife through steel. Like that's
Great.
The wind. Yeah.
Fantastic. Not looking forward to it at all.
I'm just saying, I want to be real with you. I won't lie to you about the weather in Chicago. It is not awesome. Well, at least not now, but it does get better. Anyway, fun show tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fun show tonight. We worked in Time's Arrow and a possible Borg Queen new origin story. So, and everything in between. Any last thoughts?
Excited to see where this goes. I want to know. I'm waiting on Adam Sung. Who the hell is that guy?
Yeah, maybe soon. We will see.
Yay.
Maybe soon. But you think that we're getting red herringed and it's not going to be. I like what Paul was talking about. That maybe that this Q may be like the issue, right? That he.
Well, I mean, we do see Picard like asking him if he is unwell. So, and then he gets a little bit rattled. So,
right.
Yeah.
So maybe this Q is already on the path.
Right? There's already clues that have been dropped, and I watched the first 3 episodes over again, and there's a lot of stuff I picked up on now that we're further along. So I'm excited to get through everything and then rewatch it and be like, oh, I didn't pick up on that. That's what that was connecting to later on. So
for sure. Yep.
Writers are doing a great job. Fantastic. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. And thank you everyone for joining us. I appreciate all the activity in the chat. Sorry, we didn't get a chance to talk to everyone there or even talk about some of because there's so much good stuff going on in chat. I almost wish that we could spend one show just dropping an idea and then just talking to chat about it, but maybe that's a completely different format. I'm just saying. Right. So Mission Log Live is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment, technical production on Mission Log and Mission Log Live provided by the interplanetary expeditionary Earl Green. Be sure to visit podcast.roddenberry.com for the latest from Roddenberry Podcasts. If you would like to support Mission Log directly, give us a look at patreon.com/Mission Log. That's where you get all of Alan Simonis's original work and bonus material. Special thanks to my co-host Holly, who is always fantastic as ever here on Mission Log Live. And thanks to everyone who joined us live or who will join us later. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay engaged, stay excited. We look forward to another episode with you on Star Trek Picard next week.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.